Okay, so M.F.A. You can see I'm here alone. Leslie bowed out of this one. It's been a few days. It took a little bit of digesting, but I can understand why she wouldn't want to chime in on this. First off, she was really looking forward to a film similar to Tragedy Girls because she loves Tragedy Girls, and this was a double feature release with Tragedy Girls, so she figured it was something similar. But M.F.A. is from 2017, and essentially it's a rape revenge film. And so I will state right off the bat, warnings, it could be triggering. There are more than one rape scene shown in the film, and the film completely deals with rape as its subject. So yeah, you can understand why Leslie is not here. The film runs about an hour and a half long. Again, I said it was from 2017. And essentially the film is about a student at an art school who, there's another student there of the opposite sex who catches her eye, and he invites her. She's kind of shy, meek, awkward, and she gets invited to a party where that the guy's throwing. Of course, he's kind of like the cool kid in the class. He's the artist, right? Well, and I'm gonna throw a spoiler warning in here because I do have to say something. I could just sort of cut it off and be like, oh, he brings her up to the room, rape happens, and of course then the film goes from there. But that wouldn't really be doing justice to it, so I'm going to put in a spoiler warning here. Again, like any realistic rape at university type thing, her friend believes her, but, the school itself, the police, etc., and nobody else really does anything about it, right? And so she's having to see this dude who's assaulted her in class all the time. So of course that's it's bothering, it's triggering, right? It's and so she goes to confront him, and while she's confronting him, accidents happen and he ends up dead. So you would think maybe the story is going to be along the lines of more like a police drama or something like that, where they're trying to investigate this student's death, and it's maybe coming down on her, and she's trying to hide it and etc. But that's not what happens. No, this essentially the death of her assaulter triggers something in her, and she does sort of like almost like a 180 of personality. And yes, she's still kind of a meek, but at this time she's like she's peeved, right? Like she's not okay with the status quo, and she, oddly enough, she's already. And this is where it kind of takes a weird turn from the rape revenge film. Normally, the revenge is on your, the rapists, right? Well, she's already technically killed her assaulter, and so that should be it. No, she goes on what would you call it, a vigilante spree against like anybody accused of rape, and so yeah, it goes from her being assaulted, completely changing her mindset, to revenge on the part for anybody who's been assaulted, and so she goes around killing. So there's the rape revenge portion of it. You like my hat? I mean, it's after Halloween at this point. I did say that we had to kind of digest this film. So I grabbed the James's bucket from Halloween because it's pumpkin, right? So yeah, it's M.F.A, which I'm guessing they're going with the Masters of Fine Arts because she's an art major. Though the tagline is "Mastering the Art of Revenge." Mastering something art? I don't know. The film is directed by Natalie Leite, Leite. Now this isn't her first feature film, but in all honesty, she hasn't done a ton. She's done no other genre work. She's done some shorts and other film, but not a lot. So I don't think you would know anything that she's ever done. The writer, on the other hand, which is odd, is Leah McKendrick. Now, as a writer, she's done a few shorts and TV series, but not a lot. Not a lot. She's actually more well known as an actor. I know, weird, eh? Like, she was in the last Lovecraft Relic of Cthulhu. I mean, I'm just talking genre work even. She's been in a whole bunch of stuff. How to Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. It was a TV series you may have seen. Wake in Fear. And of course, she plays in M.F.A. She has her own character in M.F.A. where she plays kind of like not the roommate of the main character, but I guess a building mate. Somebody who lives by, is the only real female friend she has in the film, really. So this is the first person she tells about the assault. And I think the character was named Sky. So she plays kind of a major portion, a major role in the film that really takes hold at, kind of at the climax or the end of the film type thing. There's a lot of reason why she's in her character's in this film, and she plays the character that she wrote. It's really weird, but whatever. The main character, Noelle, is played by, and I don't think, it's not her first role, but it's Francesca Eastwood. Francesca Eastwood being the daughter of Clint Eastwood. Now, before this film, in terms of genre work, she had been in Final Girl and Kids vs. Monsters. She was in the Heroes Reborn TV series. You remember the Heroes TV series that had the writer's strike and really got messed up? I think that's what happened with Heroes. I could be wrong. But then they rebooted it, a Heroes Reborn TV series that also never really went anywhere. And then she was in like an action film called Outlaws and Angels. Then after this film, she was also in a film called The Vault. Oddly enough, and I don't know if it was before this movie or after this movie, but she is married to Clifton Collins Jr., who in this film plays like the detective. So they got married around the same time as this film. So I don't know if they were together and, kind of went to this movie together, or if they met on this movie and got married. I don't know. She would have been married previously, I believe. But Clifton Collins Jr. is in lots of stuff. Like, he's been in tons of stuff. And I mean, from an early age, where he was in he was in an episode of Freddy's Nightmares and The Flash, and movies like Fortress, Witch Hunt, and Dead Presidents, like early on in his career. And then he had roles in the Star Trek reboot film, Crank 2, Boondock Saints 2, The Experiment, Hellbenders. He even had a role in Pacific Rim. He was in Transcendence, Stung, not the Stung you're thinking of, but a different Stung. A Hacker, The Vault, Super Troopers 2, Upon a Time in Hollywood, as well as TV series like Red Widow, The Event, and oh yeah, more recently Westworld. So he plays the cop, kind of trying to deal with all these murders happening. And I just thought that was weird that they ended up married, or either before or after. Who knows? Who knows? But a little bit of history we got going on there. So he's actually one of the big names on this film, really, outside of her being the daughter of Clint Eastwood. I don't think she really had a huge career at this point. She had done stuff, obviously, but they were the main draws if you had any names on it. Obviously, it's Eastwood is the main draw, right? Like, that's the title you put on your advertising. So, yeah. Francesca Eastwood played Noelle, who was the main character, and her original, first attacker, her first love interest and then hate interest, if you will, Luke, was played by Peter Vack, who he's been in a lot of stuff, be it movies, TV, shorts, all that kind of stuff, but he has done a few genre-related things, like Kiss of the Damned, I think is a vampire movie. I don't know if I may have done it for the 31 Days of Horror, but I do know that I have it. It's either done for 31 Days of Horror or to come in a future 31 Days of Horror. I don't remember. He was also in Slash, and most recently he was in a bunch of episodes of Homeland. You may recognize him if you see it. Like, if you watch this movie, you may go, that guy kind of looks familiar. And he's been in a few things. Not a lot of genre work, but in a few things. The only other person that's really worthwhile mentioning in this is Marlon Young, who plays the art professor, essentially her teacher. And you'd look at him and go, like, I probably, there's a lot of recognizable faces, right? Like Clifton Collins Jr. is a recognizable face. Peter Vack's a Marlon Young, Liam McKendrick. All of these are faces that you may have seen somewhere in something, right? But yeah, Marlon Young, I mostly remember him from it was a short stint, but he was on Family Matters for a bunch of episodes. But he was also in War of the Worlds, No Malone, this thing is getting wobbly, SWAT Unit 887, little action movie. In terms of horror, he was also in The Summoning and Fear Inc., which again, both of these films I've either covered, may cover, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I've got so many movies around, I can't remember. But yeah, so there's a lot of people who are kind of involved and interesting. The film itself is well done. It's an interesting story. It's kind of like a twist going on. I think they could have gone a little bit further with it. I know they wanted to clearly do something a little bit different, and I think they were kind of they didn't know whether they wanted to go too far and make it, campy and more entertaining, or keep it more realistic. I kind of wish they had gone more, especially considering it was on with Tragedy Girls. Tragedy Girls is a lot of fun. M.F.A. is a little bit more serious, so it's kind of a downer after you watch Tragedy Girls, to be honest. So yeah, their decision to be more realistic with it, I get it. The message may hit home a little bit harder, but it's less entertaining. Had they made the kills a little bit more, I'll say fantasy-ish, like over the top, then I would go. But they go for a very realistic approach with that kind of stuff. Yeah, directing is good, writing is good, looks good. It is a very well done film. Acting is good. It's just, yeah, they went with more realism than fantasy, and as a result, I think it's not as quite as entertaining as it could be. but it's still entertaining. I would give it probably a 3 out of 5. I would definitely give it a recommend. It's definitely something to check out. The fact, that whole turning of the rape revenge film and going a little bit different route is interesting, right? I mean, there's a lot of rape revenge films out there, and I guess it's hard to go into that subgenre without feeling like it's been done before, right? And this film, like I said, because it sticks to a more realistic approach, it doesn't exactly feel like it's been tried before, I guess, even though it does kind of feel that. I mean, it almost has a movie of the week type feeling, outside of the fact that there is plenty of nudity and rape going on in the film. I mean, you wouldn't have that in a made for TV film. You just wouldn't. The fact that the film opens up with the art students doing like drawing a nude, and they didn't go with like a very attractive woman or guy even. They went with an overweight woman, and they start off right in her groin and pan up to her stomach and through her breasts and stuff, and you're just like, wow, okay. Already they're kind of subverting the expectations of what you might expect from your traditional horror film. And that's kind of what I think they were going for. It was the whole subverting the expectations of your standard rape revenge film. But that being said, like I said, I give it a 3 out of 5. Very well done. I give it a recommend. It's not for everybody. And I do say trigger warnings. If you feel that you may be disgusted by any of that kind of stuff and it may turn you off, then obviously this film isn't for you. But I do think that in terms of the rape revenge subgenre, it is a good entry into that, and I do like that they kind of subverted what would be the norm for that subgenre. So there you go, 31 Days of Horror 2020. I guess it's gonna continue because I got other movies to review. Because technically Halloween would have been the day after this movie, so we did watch stuff. So thanks for watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.